Manchester United's first preseason game under Ruben Amorim finishes as a stalemate against Leeds United, which is probably a fair result given the overall flow and balance of the game. Now, 0-0 is a boring result, of course, but we learned a lot from this preseason game. And look, it's the first game of preseason. We shouldn't expect these guys to be firing on all cylinders. The first game of preseason is normally to get minutes under the belt. It's normally trying to regain fitness and that competitive edge that you've probably lost a little bit of during holiday. So there was a lot of things to analyze in this game, and without further ado, without wasting any time, let's get right into it. So the way I'm actually going to separate this video is by the first and second half. In the first half, we saw a lineup led by Matheus Cunha, Bruno Fernandes, new signing Diego Leon, Toby Collier was in that lineup. And in the second half, we saw Rasmus Højlund, Kobbie Mainoo, Lenny Yoro, all the players that we typically would see in the starting 11 come in and play with the second unit. Now, this isn't to say that one unit is better than the other. It's definitely to give Amorim a glimpse at what players fit individually into a system and how they can come together collectively to create his best 11. Now, the way that I could summarize the first half is that Manchester United were pretty frantic on the ball up until around the 35th minute of the game. Meanwhile, the entire first half, they were very solid in their defensive structure and shape, barring a few moments where new signing Diego Leon was getting caught out, and we'll talk about that later on in this portion. Now, of course, I'm going to start with Matheus Cunha, who looked very, very bright. Now, I'm going to say this because his direct approach to the game and his explosiveness on the dribble was good. It was great to see, and that's something we've been lacking for a long time. Cunha was able to get on the ball and make things happen. He was able to draw fouls, which is also going to be an important part of our season, because if we can draw fouls in dangerous areas, we can create better chances for ourselves as well. And Cunha is going to be one of the most fouled players in the Premier League for sure, just with the way that he approaches the game. You could tell in this one that he was a bit frustrated at times. The link up with his team still wasn't quite there. But of course, that's the adaptation to the new system, to his new role, to his new teammates. Like, this will all come. This is the first preseason game. So there's no need to panic and worry and be negative. I think this is a good learning experience, not just for the players and for Ruben Amorim, but for us as the fans as well. Like I said, he looked bright. His vision and playmaking was on point. It's just a matter of linking up with his team. I really want to see him play with Rasmus Højlund, because Højlund is really willing to run in behind majority of the time, whereas Chido Obi likes to get the ball to feet. Or he will make the occasional run into space, but that's not really his game. You can tell that he likes the ball in his vicinity, and he likes to make things happen on his own. I think there was a moment in the game where, they both got caught up, and Chido Obi definitely should have left it for Cunha to take the ball. It was definitely better placed for Cunha to strike the ball. But these are things that will come with experience with each other, of course, with communication. We need better communication on the field. But Cunha looked bright. I think that was a good first start, a good 45 minutes to see what he can do. You can tell that Cunha also needs to regain a little bit of his sharpness, of his fitness, of his edge. But these things will come. This is what preseason is for. It's getting us ready for the first game of the season, where everything matters the most. Another positive from the first half is I thought Amad Diallo looked very, very strong and composed on the ball. He started out as a right wing back, and as the game progressed on, he moved into the 10 position, where he looked much more dangerous, by the way. When he was in right wing back, he was a lot more careful with his possession. He was on the ball a lot. He was shielding his defender, and for a man of his size, he was really using his body well to fend off his defender. There was even a moment where he knew he had to use his size to his advantage, and he let the ball go over him and the defender to get an edge and win a foul for us. So, I mean, Amad Diallo is one of those players where he's explosive, he's pacey, he's smart, very smart player. And I think each season we've seen his progression tenfold each season. It just keeps getting better and better and better. In this game, trialing him out at right wing back was interesting. I think it was good on Ruben Amorim's part to play him at right wing back. The only thing I don't like is that Toby Collier was the right 10, and that's not his position. Collier seems to be a very good utility player in midfield and can play pretty much anywhere in that position. And it seemed like he was a better fit at right wing back. But in order to simulate, Mbeumo being at the right 10 and Amad at right wing back, we need somebody that fits at least a quarter of Mbeumo's profile. And Collier was not that player. So I think moving Amad to the 10 made things a lot more fluid. It made things a lot more conducive. Players were making runs because Amad was getting way more attraction at the 10 position. I think there was a situation where Amad had two players just watching him, and Casemiro was able to make a sneaky run in behind, and we almost created a chance from that. So situations like that where Amad Diallo is strong on the ball, but as soon as he moved into the 10, he was more creative. He was more of a goal-scoring threat, and that's what we need. We definitely need Mbeumo to come in and add a little more dynamism to our attack, because there were times in this game where it was a bit stale. The last thing I want to add about the first half is that we were able to hold leads to no shots, not a single shot. And we had more of the shots. Yes, they had more possession. Yes, they looked a lot more assured and calm on the ball. But they didn't really do much with it. I think in the next segment, when I talk about some of the bad things that were in the first half, you'll see where they were able to create their chances. Because to me, it wasn't really chances. It was just opportunities to exploit the space that we had left from our negligence. But other than that, the defending was solid. I think De Ligt was really, really good in that center back position. And as we'll see in the second half, Maguire just couldn't hack it. He was subbed off. We'll see. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the defense was looking good. I think Diego Leon is still young and we have to give him time. But we'll talk a little bit more about him in this next segment. Okay, now let's talk about some of the concerning things that I saw in the first half. And these are things that can be worked on with repetition, with better communication from both players. But the left-hand side was exposed a lot in the first half for us. I think Jadon Bogle for Leeds was by far their best player in the entire match. He was the one creating the most. He was so agile on the ball. He was expansive and direct, more direct than any other Leeds player in my opinion, maybe barring Wilfred Nanto and Daniel James in the second half. But Bogle was creating a lot on the right-hand side in terms of just 1-2 interplay. And this was the problem that I had. Diego Leon was getting way too committed to trying to stop Leeds' buildup. So Diego Leon would push up high up the field to try and win the ball back and get committed, and Leeds would play a simple 1-2 around him. And because Luke Shaw had also followed his man too tightly, there was just a huge gap in behind. And I think I'll show it in a clip right now. Leon just couldn't track back. Luke Shaw just couldn't track back. And that's an opportunity where if it's a bigger team, they'll probably do better in terms of creating a goal-scoring opportunity there. So that was a little bit worrying. I think I saw that once or twice where Diego Leon was just too committed, too caught ball watching. And that's another thing that we need to just completely get out of our system is this ball watching. Getting way too attracted to the ball and not sensing the danger before it happens. Another negative that I noticed in the first half, which wasn't too bad because we were able to be way more solid defensively, but we allowed Leeds way too much time to build up from the back. I think that's a problem that we've always had, not even just under Emery, but with subsequent managers before Emery. Like, we just allowed teams to build up way too easily, to bypass that first, second, third press and get into their midfield and attacking phases much quicker than we would, and it's a frustrating thing to see it's still happening, but it's good because in the second half, we didn't see a whole lot more of this. I think the thing is with Casemiro in your midfield, you just lose a lot of running. That's the only problem. You can't press as intensely with Casemiro in the midfield versus Ugarte being there or even Menu. Menu was very good in the second half at just winning the ball back. I'm sorry, not winning the ball back, but putting players under pressure. With Casemiro, it's all about the recovery defending because he can't get there in time to stop it from happening. So he has to track back and win the ball back. And he did it a couple times to his gratitude. But for me, it's just playing him in that other midfield role alongside Bruno, who I thought Bruno had actually a pretty decent first half. The stats will suggest that he played well. The eye test will suggest that he gave the ball away in cheap areas. But these are things that will come with, the first game of preseason. You want to be sharp. You want to be in tune with your teammates. And I think this will come as we play the other opposition in our preseason lineup. The last thing that I saw that didn't convince me fully was Bayindir. I don't really feel fully convinced with him as keeper. Now, I know as a keeper, you want the shot-stopping aspect to be the most important thing. And he didn't face really any shots the entire half. He didn't face a single shot. What am I saying? He didn't face a single shot the entire half. But the thing that concerned me the most was he wasn't sound on the ball. Whenever the ball came back to him, he rushed his passes, he rushed his clearances, and they weren't accurate. For most part, they weren't accurate. I think Tom Heaton in the second half did a much better job. He was more composed on the ball. He was able to spread it out to our players, and our players looked way more composed in the second half than the first, which is, once again, I'll get to that later in this video. Now, these were just things that I saw in the first half, and by all means, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you watched the game, let me know what you saw. Maybe you saw something differently than I did, or you saw something that I missed out on talking about. But the signs were there that we were able to contain Leeds as a team. We just weren't able to be explosive on the counter. We just weren't able to be clinical in terms of positioning, passing, finishing. And I think those are things that can be worked on in preseason. This is positive. This is the positive sign. The negatives can be worked on as well, in terms of Diego Leon, just being a little bit more mindful of the danger and the threat in behind And of course, we need, a midfielder to complement Bruno, because Bruno will be our creator. We need a midfielder who can run up and down, who can put out fires and can stop fires before they even happen. So these are good things that we're saying, things that can be worked on, like I said, fleshed out for the start of the season. And then the second half, we'll talk about that right now. The second half was just completely different. Now, the only way I can summarize the second half is that we were a lot more assured in possession. I thought our possession play was actually more confident and brighter, but we were so loose and just frantic defensively. And I think, I'm not trying to pinpoint the blame on any one man, but I think when Harry Maguire is playing as the center back, he just offers us no stability. De Ligt was way more solid. He was winning tackles. He was getting stuck in. He was following his man from a deep position, following him all the way into the midfield to stop the build-up for Leeds. But Maguire is just so slow and clunky and doesn't react fast enough, in my opinion. His reaction speed is slow, and it puts us under pressure. Now, he didn't necessarily do anything individually to warrant him getting subbed off midway through or, somewhat midway through the second half. But I think Amorim identified that his lack of pace and lack of reaction and lack of awareness will definitely haunt us if he continues to play. And it was evident because after Maguire was subbed off for Fredrickson, who has way more recovery speed, Man United were able to control the game a lot better. Leeds were kind of pinned back a little bit. The momentum of the game had swung in Man United's favor. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with what I saw in the second half. Like I said, we were a lot more assured on the ball. I thought Højlund's hold-up play was a lot better today. He was getting involved with his teammates. He was linking them up correctly. He was actually winning challenges with the defender on his back, which is something we did not see a whole lot of last season. So that's encouraging. That's a good sign. I also saw Leny Yoro playing some fantastic switches, really showcasing his passing range and giving us another option as a playmaking center back. Because, in my previous videos, I talked about how Ruben Amorim likes, his Lisandro Martinez and his playmaking ability in behind. Leny Yoro was able to switch the ball to Dorgu countless number of times in this game. And the passes were accurate, and it gave Manchester United the opening and the space to attack Leeds. So that was good. That was really promising from Yoro. And now it gives us more dynamism in our attack. Another good thing that I saw was Tom Heaton. He was fantastic in the second half. There were chances for Leeds where they should have scored. I think there was one clear-cut chance by Largi Ramazani, a former United youth prospect, where Tom Heaton just made a fantastic save. And this kind of showcased that, all right, maybe we can, in a few games here and there, have that extra reliability in Tom Heaton instead of Bayindir, which is crazy to say considering Tom Heaton is 11 years his senior. I think Bayindir really needs to show in the next game that he's a much more solid keeper, not just in terms of shot stopping, but in terms of just the overall game, especially what's needed now for a keeper in this modern era. Tom Heaton showed that he was miles and levels above Bayindir with the ball at his feet. But his shot stopping was tremendous, what you need the most in a keeper, because Ramazani had a great opportunity to score. In that sequence, I think I'll show it already in the clip. Aiden Heaven was actually the player who left Ramazani onside. Maguire and Yoro had done well to draw him offside. If Heaven had just kept in line with his defenders, that would have been a clear and cut offside. So I think these are things that just still need to be worked on. I think in the first half, if that was Luke Shaw probably would have fallen into line. But Luke Shaw wasn't as good with the ball at his feet. He wasn't good in his passing at all. I thought he was really poor. And Heaven showed much more composure than Luke Shaw. So that might be another situation where Heaven might get the nod to start the season, especially just knowing that Amorim likes to have players of that footing on that side, creating and dictating. I like the fact that Heaven, every time he gets the ball, he opens his body up. It's positive. It shows that he wants to find players moving forward and not just playing regular sideways passes like Maguire might do or Luke Shaw might do. Another great player that I thought was tremendous, actually really good, and really just changed the way that we approached the game was Patrick Dorgu. Great on the ball, great tenacity. He made one error to allow Leeds to get in behind, but other than that, he was fantastic. Attacking, he was just a threat constantly, nonstop, just being a nuisance to the Leeds defense. And him getting forward, getting into those high positions is exactly what he did last season to great effect. I think last season, coming into the Premier League, trying to adapt to the Premier League so soon and so sudden was kind of a shock for him. But I think this season he'll have a much more clearer head. He'll be much more composed. he already showed in this game that he can attack and defend. I think there was a sequence where he made a crunching tackle, immediately got up, and got back into position to attack. And that's exactly what we need. We need something like that. Leon wasn't really offering that, but to be fair, the kid is 18 and it's his first game for the club. So I'm sure his emotions were up. Still doesn't know English, so the communication barrier might be a little challenging, especially playing with Luke Shaw on that side. So I'll give him some credit on that one. But Dorgu, that was promising. That was encouraging. And he's for sure going to start the season. And he's going to be our starting left wing back no matter what, in my opinion. So it was promising to see that. But like I said at the beginning with the summary, our defense was just a lot more frantic in the second half. I don't think that Maguire should be in that center back role. I really don't. I think De Ligt has that unlocked. He's just way more assured of himself. His reaction speed, he's very much more aware than Harry Maguire, the concentration, all of that. Maguire should play a role similar to what Lindelof played. Obviously, I know Maguire's on high wages and he's going to be expected to play, but he really does change the way that we approach the game, offensively and defensively. I think in this game, you saw a lot of the responsibility was handed to Lenioro to be that playmaker. And I could tell there was an impotence to move the ball quicker. Maguire likes to hold on to the ball a lot. I just think he changes our game drastically. And going back towards his own goal, I've already mentioned in numerous videos, he's just not good enough. He's not good enough going back towards his own goal. He's very slow. And that really changes the way that we approach things, like I said. So these are things that Amorim can work on. These are things that Amorim can improve upon. The players are going to go back, review. They're going to watch the film. They're going to see how they can improve. I think Amorim has a selection headache for a couple of positions. I definitely think that the center back position is going to be heavily rotated in the preseason to see who really fits the best. I said in my previous video that Luke Shaw might start the season at left center back. Well, Aiden Heaven just kind of proved that he's just a more solid option there. He's a smarter player at this stage of preseason, which is, I know it's crazy to say, it's just one game, but he made better decisions on the ball than an experienced Luke Shaw. And that's worrying. That is worrying. Obviously, there's going to be competition in the center of midfield, but I think Bruno at the 8 was pretty good today. I'll put the stats up. Bruno had an 83% pass completion rate. He made 3 key passes. He won 2 of his ground duels. Like, this isn't a player that can't play in this position, yet everybody thinks so. Bruno is very capable of adapting to a position, but we need to find the right defensive midfield partner alongside him. As of right now, Casemiro does not fit the bill. Ugarte is looked better in this game, but still doesn't convince me enough until I see them both play side by side again and something changes. The partnership from last season that I saw between the two of them wasn't great, and I'm not convinced by it at all. So I think the midfield is going to rotate a lot as well during the preseason, so that Amorim can find just who fits the most and who can complement one another. That's one of the more important aspects of this game, is signing players that can complement the other players in the system. You know, I saw today that the way that Cunha plays, Patrick Dorgu would complement him tremendously. And the way that the way that Højlund plays, Cunha would complement him tremendously. You know, so there's a lot of different combinations and player link-ups that need to be identified, and this is the perfect opportunity to do so. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm not entirely sure if you guys have seen the game today. So I hope this video helped give a little bit more insight onto what I saw. And if you have the opportunity, go ahead and watch the highlights. See what Manchester United did in their build-up phase. See how the body language looked. Take it from a different perspective as a fan, because from a fan, you see the result 0-0 and think, United just played a boring, drab game. And it wasn't the most exciting game by any stretch of the imagination, but there was a lot to learn. There was a lot to learn in terms of player positioning, in terms of player mentality, who was willing to put a tackle in, who was willing to get forward, who was willing to track back. Good things from Manchester United I'm seeing. It's not revolutionary by any stretch of the imagination, but a clean sheet in your first preseason game, especially with the amount of goals that we conceded last season and the way we conceded goals last season, is promising. That showcases that Manchester United, defensively, the structure and the stability is starting to improve drastically. And then going forward, we just need to be a little bit more clinical. We already know this. But United signing Cunha, signing Mbeumo, and potentially signing a striker will improve upon this. When Joshua Zirkzee joins up with the team in the USA tour, it's another situation where he can give us a little bit more dynamism in attack. I thought Højlund was actually pretty decent today. Obviously, he needs to still work on being more of an impact in these games. but he was making runs. He was willing to make the runs, and that's what we need. We need players who are willing to do the hard work, the dirty work off the ball. And then on the ball, we'll see how they can improve throughout the course of this preseason tour. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you think of this video, if you like the video like this, and if you want me to analyze each preseason game. I'll do my best, but let me know what you guys want to see in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of this preseason game. Let me know what you thought of the system, the way that the players played in the system. I'd love to see what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, God bless and have a wonderful, wonderful day.